Death is the one story every life shares, but the conversations around it rarely happen. Welcome to the show that opens the doors to the funeral profession. The people, the stories, and the truths most never hear. This is As the Hearse Turns.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm beyond excited.
I like your shirt.
So my first order from Drop Dead Threads has arrived today. It's the blackout with the portaboy, the casket, and the hearse. This one actually, I still have another order that still hasn't shipped from them, so I'm waiting to get that. But it's light, it's comfortable. I'm excited for it. I'll buy some more stuff from them for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I'm ready to start playing golf with Nate.
Well, Nate doesn't really like to play golf. He'll play golf, but he doesn't care for golf. So, yeah. But I'm excited about tonight. We are about running a few minutes behind just because we were talking in the back studio with Ryan. But we are so excited to introduce Ryan Thogmartin. He is the founder and owner of Disrupt Media. And Disrupt Media is a social media marketing company, and they specifically work with funeral homes. And I had been following Ryan for probably about 2 years prior to us buying the funeral home. And when things weren't going as planned after we purchased the funeral home, I said to my husband, we got to call this guy. So we called him, hopped on a demo, and we've been with Disrupt since. So they were the ones that helped us get our social media marketing journey started.
There's Jen.
So Jen is, she's the go-to at Disrupt for me. I work with her. You work with her, right?
Yep.
Down at Harkins.
All right. So let's bring Ryan on. Let's just dive into it.
I'm excited.
There's the man of the hour.
Hey. This is great.
That was a great intro. I appreciate it. But
yes.
Before you guys get roll, I have to shout you out. Like, I think that we've talked about a lot of different things, but I'm gonna just give you guys your flowers real quick, because what you both have done in death care, for death care, I don't think death care will appreciate this for years to come, because we run behind. But I'll say this: the world does not need another funeral home. Period. They need funeral homes that don't act like funeral homes and meet consumers where consumers are at. They have conversations that funeral homes have never had before. They do it publicly. And you two are models of that. It's been so cool to just watch how Katharine, you talked about when you and Nate bought the funeral home and us coming in and starting to work with you. That's great. But like, there's nothing that Disrupt has done for your business or Chris with your location that we haven't offered to death care at scale for 15 years. I say it to you, Katharine, all the time. You've just taken the playbook and you've ran it. And so like, that's the really cool thing to see, like how much success you've had by just embracing the tools that are available and running with it. So it's been really, really cool what you guys are doing with this podcast, where the majority of your audience is consumer, and what the light you're shining on death care in a really positive way is powerful. It's exciting. 50,000 followers on just this one Facebook page. Let's not throw in your personal pages, the funeral home pages, all the other people that are sharing your content. So millions and millions of views. I won't steal that thunder as you talk about some of those things, but man, it's just been really cool. So props to the both of you. You deserve your flowers. So there they are.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things. And I think that's one of the things I wanted to dive into is like, what do you see? Because with the demos that you provide, when people, reach out to Disrupt and say, hey, I'm interested in learning what you guys can do for my business, this, that, and the third, what do you see that conversion rate being? Is it higher than you would have anticipated, or is it lower because people are like, yeah, I don't want to put in the work?
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning. I mean, we launched Disrupt really in 2011. And then I went full bore, 100% focused on death care in 2014. And we were the very first organization, agency, whatever you want to call us, to offer social media marketing and strategy differently than anybody had ever seen in death care to death care. And so at that point, it was just crazy to think about a funeral home being on Facebook. And the biggest hurdle was nobody liked the way that I looked. And like that was real. I mean, I tell a story all the time. The first video I put online, I got absolutely annihilated, and people had followed me for years. I had about 10,000 subscribers to an email list, and people were reading articles that I was writing, but nobody had ever seen me. And once they saw me, like, I can't believe we've ever listened to a word you had to say. You're so undignified. You look like a fool. If you walked in my funeral home looking like that, I'd throw you out. Like crazy stuff. And so, like, no, the way that I dress and all the bling and all that stuff is like has nothing to do with like because of that reaction. That's just authentically like who I am. Like that's how I dress. I've gotten kicked out of Fortune 500 boardrooms. I've been asked to like, hey, if you're going to come speak, you got to wear a suit. So I've lost speaking gigs because I refuse to wear a suit. So it just is like that. Yeah. So I do face resistance. We are not for every funeral home. If a funeral home doesn't want to grow and they just want a company to provide content, like that's just not disrupt. So our conversion rate's probably maybe 35%.
Wow.
If I can get somebody on a demo, like we do a lot of pre-work prior to a demo of just trying to qualify that funeral home, or there's a series of questions I'll ask on a demo to just see if somebody's like really interested. Are they just curious what we're doing? Are they scheming and fishing for another competitor, which happens all the time. We'll get funeral homes that sign up for a demo. They'll go all the way through the process. They'll say, send me the agreement. We're ready to rock and roll. And then they ghost us. And we find out later that they were just getting a recording of the demo to give to a competitor, which is cool. Like I'm an open book. Like I don't care. My competitors sit in our seminars. They sit on our webinars. They come to my speaking engagements. Like I'm an open book like that. But so I would say probably 35% close rate, but we're not for every funeral home. I probably tell more funeral homes they're not the right fit for us than I actually onboard. Simply because there's a lot of work that goes into creating organic content, which is why nobody else offers organic content to funeral homes. We have a team of 31 people. We have 5 graphic designers, 4 video editors, 5 copywriters, 5 account managers, 3 analysts, 2 ads managers. Like there's a lot that goes into simply just creating organic content at scale for hundreds of funeral homes every single month.
Can we talk about Facebook though specifically? Because I have a lot of people that say, why aren't you on Instagram? Which we are on Instagram. I just don't do a lot on Instagram. But why aren't you on TikTok? TikTok's where it's at. Why Facebook?
It's easy because that's where the buying consumer for a funeral home lives and breathes. All those other platforms are great. Like preference wise, I spend probably 3 times the amount of time on Instagram and TikTok that I do on Facebook. Yeah. From a personal, just if I'm going to engage, follow, where I see trends, everything happens on TikTok first. It is where the majority of eyeballs are, but it's not where that consumer that's going to pre-plan or need a funeral is living to engage with a funeral. The conversion isn't there. So like, we're not going to run a pre-need lead campaign on TikTok and get conversion. It's the wild, wild west. Yes, you can get a lot of views. You can go viral very quickly. The same with Instagram. It's not as hyper localized as Facebook is. At the end of the day, you both run local businesses. You're not serving families 100 miles away and going and doing a removal. It's not feasible. You have a local business. You have a invisible fence around an area of where like, this is where it's profitable for us to serve a family. So if you can't localize content and you can't get really, really hyper focused on who you're speaking to, it's really hard. Sure, let's go on TikTok. Let's get millions of views. Is that going to grow the business? Most likely not, because that's not going to be the people that are in your backyard. I mean, Katharine, you've experienced this as you've had videos get 25 million views on one piece of content. About 120,000 of those views are actually valuable because they're people in your backyard. The rest of it doesn't really matter. It's great exposure and it's valuable for death care.
Right.
But from a profit and loss standpoint, doesn't make sense. So that 55 to 75-year-old plus consumer, 75% of that audience are daily active users in the US on Facebook. That drops to about 40% or lower on Instagram, about 30% on TikTok. So when we're dealing with a limited ad spend, limited marketing budget from a funeral home, funeral homes don't have unlimited budgets to be able to just content create like the biggest brands on the planet. You have to go where you have the highest probability of the fastest return on investment. And that absolutely is Facebook. Like you said, you're on Instagram. So if somebody wants to find you on Instagram, they absolutely can. But make no mistake, you're engaging on TikTok and watching. We're engaging on TikTok and watching. We're engaging on Instagram and watching. Those things are cultural, meaning what trends on Instagram and what trends on TikTok makes its way to Facebook. What TikTok does on an algorithm with the For You page, every other social network starts to follow that.
Yeah.
Most people don't know across meta platforms that 80% of the content that you see is recommended content. It's not from people you actually follow. But the algorithm is so good at putting content in front of you that you want to see, you don't know. You don't know that the majority of content you're seeing from people are people that you're not friends with, you don't follow, but the content is finding you because it's so relative to what you're already looking at and engaging with. And so, I mean, I think just it's the reason that followers don't matter. You know, like I had a conversation with a funeral home a couple of weeks ago, and they said, well, you know, we looked at one of your clients that has a ton of engagement on content. They're one of your poster child clients, but they only have like 700 followers on Facebook. Like that doesn't seem very good. How are you doing that? Like, because the followers really don't matter. If you want 10,000 followers, we'll get on Fiverr, pay some kid in Bangladesh $5. You'll have 10,000 followers tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
It's not going to do anything to grow your business because the algorithm is so good. It's why one video, you can create a Facebook page from nothing, have 0 followers, put out one piece of content, reach a couple 100,000 people by accident with that piece of content.
Yep.
With no followers. Doesn't matter. Followers do not matter. The algorithm and what you're speaking and how you're creating that content determines who sees it, where it goes, how it gets shared, how it gets engagement. Doesn't really matter about the follower count. But that was a really long-winded answer. So Facebook is just where that buying consumer is at. For a funeral home, it's the best ad platform on the planet.
Right.
You can get hyper local. There's a lot of nuances around things that people don't understand. And most companies in death care that are running ads for funeral homes do not understand how the ad platform works. So, I mean, Katharine, like if you think about the lead campaigns that we ran for you, we've never spent more than $300 in a 30-day period, which is unheard of. Like if you were a car dealership, we'd be spending $2,500 to $3,500 without blinking a month and just ad spend to show a slight needle move. So because of organic content, understanding the audience, the way that you can target it, we can spend very, very little and get a higher return because the content's so laser focused on who it's targeted at, that the conversion's there because that pump's already primed with organic content.
We've also been accused of the majority of our content being paid. And if you look at our professional dashboard, 99.9% of our engagement and everything, it's organic, but it just proves, the consumer, they continue to come back. We've built that trust with our community. And for any of the dinosaur funeral directors that are watching this right now that are so against social media, go crawl back in your cave, because social media and funeral service, it it meshes and it works. And people want to know. People want to know what happens behind the closed doors of a funeral home. They want to know what happens in that prep room. And as a consumer, if I'm spending that kind of money and I ask a question, I expect it to be answered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I want to know where my loved one is being cared for. I want to know about the equipment, but I'm also nosy like that.
So, and I want to piggyback off, Katharine, what you were just saying. I put out the reel yesterday where I talked about, social media. We've seen such an uptick in people and especially funeral homes and funeral directors getting on social media, but they're not using social media to the full potential and doing what they should do to really grow their business. All they're doing is posting their obituaries. That is it. And some stock, just graphics or something like that. They're not, getting in the trenches. They're not, recording content. And even there's so many downtime. There's so much downtime in funeral service to where if you just grab your phone and record, God bless Caitlin's dad, John, when he did the video in the selection room and thought he had the camera facing the right direction and he was recording himself. God bless him. That's the stuff you do. Get your phone instead of just sitting there taking a nap, watching TV, or just leaving for the day and waiting for the phone to ring. Do something to get the phone to ring.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I remember I used to listen to Ryan's podcast when I was in mortuary school, the effing podcast, and it was you, Ryan, and the funeral commander, Jeff.
Yeah.
And I remember, so you have come so far from, what was it, my man? The white Nissan when you first started out? Or was that when you were working for?
That was when I was working for my father-in-law's vault company. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then, you just like, this isn't for me. I'm not doing suits and size and selling vaults and calling on people,
No.
And you've developed and you figured out the science with funeral service and how to reach the public as long as people will put in the work. And, one of the biggest things I've started to see, and I spoke about it in the reel yesterday that I put out, is that you cannot copy someone else. Like if I started wearing a bunch of leopard print and just running around,
red leggings,
and things like that, people don't want to see me as Katharine. Well, maybe they would. I don't know. But they want to see Chris. They want to see Katharine. They want to see Ryan. They want to see the funeral director down the street. They want to know who they are going to be dealing with. And even one of my recent Google reviews from one of the families that we served on Google, they put it out there. They're like, you know what? When Chris came to our home and took my dad into his care, they had never met me. I had just taken over the funeral home. It was Krista's dad, Katharine.
Yep.
Krista said, I felt like I already knew you. And that's not marketing. That's building relationships, and that's priceless.
And it's
so
80%.
Let me back up for a minute there. I want to talk about that story and that family. She's amazing. So we had Wagner-Elfner and Berg up here in Red Lion, and we were in negotiations with Harkins at the time, and I was running Harkins for the previous owner. We had a graveside, or we had a church service followed by a graveside. It must have been maybe July of last year. And I was walking in the cemetery, and Krista came up and introduced herself to me. And she said, I follow you on social media, and I'm so happy to hear you guys are the ones buying Harkins, because we were going to come up to you in Red Lion. We had connected on social media. Yes. That was the first time I ever met Krista.
It's cool. That's how it works. Isn't that weird?
And, it's just now it's been 3 steady years of social media marketing. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I'm not patting myself on my back. I'm not bragging by any means. I'm just being very genuine. Nathan and I cannot go anywhere in York County without someone saying something to us. I was at the grocery store the other day. Someone said something to me. We're down in Ocean City last week. We're taking pictures outside at sunset, and a lady comes up to me and she goes, Katharine. And I looked at her. She said, I follow you on social media. There was someone else. Oh yeah. Someone from the excavating company that we worked with here. She recognized me from social media, but she was at Secrets. I mean, it's it's amazing what it's done for us. And so for people to sit there and knock on social media, I do believe that there are some bad actors out there and people that are out there doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. But if you do it with, professionalism, if you can educate, if you can connect with your community, be transparent too. And you don't have to be perfect in all your videos. That's one thing, Ryan, you know that about me. I struggled with that in the beginning. But people love this content.
Well, you said relationship, and like we have always called ourselves a relationship marketing company. And it doesn't resonate well. So like, I mean, internally, that's how we refer to ourselves, because what we're doing is really helping funeral homes build relationship. It's personal branding. It's building the brand of the funeral director. Like, nobody calls the name on a sign. And I think that that's really, really important. It's the reason that, Chris, you can come into a location and that location immediately have success as you're building content, because people have now become aware of who you are, and they go, I like him, I don't like him. That's the other side of it. Like, there are going to be some people that are just like, yeah, I don't like that. Mm-hmm. But the majority of people want the relationship. They want the transparency. They want to know what you do, how you do it better than anybody else. I have 5 other options. Why should I choose you? And death care gets behind I call it the wall of dignity. And we say, that's not dignified. I'd never do that. That's not dignified. And we put it in taglines. I mean, I had a conversation with the funeral home the other day, and I talked about dignity. He's like, I mean, that's in our tagline. I said, great. Explain to me why it's there. What does it mean?
Oh, man.
And he's like, it just, I mean, I don't know. Compassionate care, dignified service. It sounded good. I'm like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
I said dignity. And when we use that word is, I'm really insecure about what you're doing because I would never do it. Therefore, it's not dignified. So when Katharine goes into the embalming room and shows, putting fluid into an embalming machine, well, I would never do that because my embalming room looks like absolute trash and I wouldn't want the consumer to see it. So therefore, you doing it's not dignified because I'm covering up my own insecurities of why I wouldn't want to do it. And I'm your competitor. And so I'm probably going to say everything you're doing is undignified because I don't have the gusto to turn on a camera and start talking to it because I'm uncomfortable doing that. So therefore, what you're doing is not dignified.
Or maybe you're trying to cut corners. You don't want to
100%
be seen.
It's the absolute, like, death care does this to itself. Like, we're in the position of the consumer not trusting funeral directors because we've been operating in secrecy for so long. And so when funeral directors want to point fingers at you guys, and your biggest haters are not the consumer. And I think that that's the underlying thing of this is like, those that don't want to embrace social the way that you have are like, well, it's because my community doesn't want that. Like, all of a sudden we become like God, and we know exactly what the consumer wants and doesn't want. And my consumer doesn't want that. And if I did that, they'd be turned off. I'm pretty sure 25 million views in a 90-day period says otherwise. Like, the consumer wants it. I just had a conversation with a casket company. You guys have used Titan for custom caskets, and we've partnered and done some fun stuff with Titan. They have a red casket, blue casket, a yellow casket, an actual real cherry red casket. No other casket company on the planet actually has a cherry red casket. And it's because the consumer doesn't want that. No, the casket companies never ask the consumer what they want. They ask funeral directors what they're willing to sell. And so now we have 27 variations of a brown and tan casket because that's what I'm comfortable selling as a funeral director. Therefore, the feedback I give the casket company is, I probably couldn't sell a red casket. You shouldn't make it. When the consumer is going, oh no, pick me. I want a red casket. I want a pink casket. I want a purple casket. So, I mean, I get passionate about this stuff because it's like, in my heart of hearts, the reason that we fight so hard for funeral homes to create organic content, video content, educate the consumer is because I fully believe if half of America, the funeral homes in the United States, created content this way, there would be a completely different perception of death care, and we wouldn't have to worry about all the things that we talk about and the death rate this, the death rate that. It wouldn't matter because consumers would see so much value in what funeral homes do that everybody would have a service regardless of disposition. Everybody would memorialize and use the funeral home to do it because the funeral home is going to provide the 97 answers to the questions that the consumer doesn't know when they go to the VFW to try to plan the memorial service themselves.
Yeah.
And if we just embrace this and took off this whole dignified blinders of like my insecurities, I want to go back to something you said, Chris, and then I'll shut up for a second. But you said just turning on the cell phone and talking to it. I would argue that the two of you have never created a piece of content, meaning rarely are you scripting out some, like we may have a conversation about how something could be shot, what's a different angle, or hey, I want to do this, what's the right way to do it so that like it's going to look good, we're going to be able to cut it right. But you're just documenting processes. You're not really creating content. When you're at your desk doing paperwork, which is 90% of how you spend a time with a family, you're not creating anything. You're just recording and documenting what the heck you're doing and then talking about it. And like, that's the stuff that the consumer, they love it. They love when you're unboxing a casket or an urn, or you're rearranging the slat wall, or you're cleaning an embalming table, or you're filling the embalming machine. You're cleaning the hearse, you're washing the hearse. Like you're doing things that just like, oh, wow, yeah, these are things that need to be done in a funeral home. I've never thought about that. Oh, you actually go out and pull weeds? That's wild. I thought you just sat on your high horse all day in your suit and tie and waited for somebody to die. Like there is this perception. 2013 Funeral Service Foundation did a study. 80% of consumers, when they hear the word funeral home or funeral director, think of something negative. I would venture to say that probably hasn't changed much in the last 13 years. Like the consumer still thinks of something negative because at scale, we haven't done anything to make them think any differently because there wants to tourniquet everybody that's doing something a little bit different.
Yeah, it's you're doing something that you're going against the grain of the good old boy, network, that this is always how we've done it. We don't need to change. Things have been fine. But you know what? Those funeral directors, that mentality, those are the people that we are servicing. Those are the people that we are burying. The consumer has changed. And unless we as funeral directors and in the funeral profession itself as a whole doesn't change, we're going to die. People will not continue. A direct disposer is going to continue to grow because we're not educating. I said it yesterday again, is the funeral home down the street is not my competition. Mistrust is my competition.
100%.
I saw a comment here. Now, this is from Hibiscus Funeral Service. I believe they're
Tracy. I love Tracy.
And she said, we found here that the biggest critics is actually fellow industry peers, not the general public, but other funeral directors who have their opinion. This is a struggle at first for us, but now we feel the same. Go crawl back in your cave because we're seeing a difference from this in our community in such a short time, telling us in the street we love your videos. So we will continue.
That's great.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go grab something. I got to show you. I have this hanging on my wall in my office. Like I got to go grab it and just show you because to that point, this is how I live.
But Katharine, it boggles my mind when people get on here and say we're doing a disservice and we're not doing things to better. All we're doing is making the industry less professional.
Okay, so in Arizona, I have a poster that hangs on the wall that I had created that just says "Hug your haters," because like in the algorithm, when you have haters, you're going to get a lot more views. So I'm like, never delete a negative comment. Let them say whatever they want about me. Like my team's instructed to just let it go. And there's some heinous things that get said about me, and I'm cool with it. But then I have a girl that worked for us made this. Like this is made up of a bunch of little like words of things that I've said from video content, but it just says, my haters become my elevators because God's got a plan. So I used to say that all the time. I'm like, man, haters are your elevators. Like if somebody's hating on you, then you're doing something right. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I say emotion creates motion. When somebody's emotional about something, good or bad, they're going to like, something's going to happen. There's motion. And so like, hug your haters, man. Love them. Yes. In spite of my daughter has a ministry called Room 38. And there's a Bible verse that is kind of the staple of that. And it's, he sets a table. He sets a place for me at the table in front of my enemies. And like, that's how I look at it, that like the haters are just, yeah, let them elevate you. Let them propel you. If they're hating on you, then you're doing something right because it makes them feel massively uncomfortable. So keep writing. What works for you?
And I'll never forget one of the first videos that we had that went viral. And it wasn't intentional. It was that video of me in the old prep room up at Berg. And I was moving the overhead lift across the room. And that video took off. And I remember texting you the one night, I'm like, it has, 120,000 views. This is crazy. And then a week later, it had 1 million views. But when you get to that level of views, the video is pushed into the algorithm in front of people who typically wouldn't see your content. And with that comes negativity and criticism and nastiness from just mean, miserable people. And it took me a good solid 6 months to grow a backbone and to not let it bother me. But the video was shared in one of the Facebook groups that our profession has, and they just ripped me to shreds. Yeah. And ironically, a lot of the people in that group now follow Chris and I on As the Hearse Turns, or those people that said, you shouldn't be doing this or questioning what we were doing. They're oddly enough now educating.
Well, and they're buying our boat ride t-shirts from our merch shop.
Yes.
They're copying. You mentioned that like the copying thing. So I do want to address that because it's like nothing that you're doing is proprietary, right? Every funeral home gets a body from A to Z. Most funeral homes do a lot of the same thing process wise. Like there's things that you have to do. But the authenticity of how you speak, how you create, the tone of how you speak, just the way that you pronunciate, the spaces that you put in between words, the cadence of how you like, all of that plays a factor in how somebody engages with content. My bravado when I open up a video and I'm loud and I'm in your face and I'm pointing at the camera, 50% of the audience immediately gets turned off. Like I know that, but I can't not talk with my hands. Like it would be real. I would probably just bounce around like this and it would look funny. So like the authenticity of how you create, you could take all of the scripts that you guys have from videos that you have created. We could rip the transcript of every single video. We could line 37 funeral directors up and say, okay, read this script, look at that camera, say these exact words, and it will massively underperform in the algorithm compared to your content, Chris, Katharine, your content, simply because it's you, it's the way that you deliver, it's the comfortableness that you have in front of a camera. I mean, let's be honest, Katharine, it took you 15 months before you had a video that actually just went boom, like blew up. And so I get calls consistently of, hey, I want to be the next Katharine. And I'm like, great, not going to happen. You can have success like Katharine has, but you will never be Katharine. You can create content the same way that Katharine does, and it can get 6 views. You have to find what works for you, your cadence. Now, there are themes of content that are going to work. We've got enough data, we've created enough content that, I mean, I spend hours and hours understanding how many words should be in a video, what the hook should be, how you should close a video, how do you storytell and hook somebody to the middle of the video? At what point does the algorithm push it out? So we need somebody to stick around for 20 seconds. Like there's a lot of data that goes into creating, and we know the themes. And if you talk about these things, you'll get more views. but it's never going to be the same as what Chris does, what Katharine does, what Caitlin does, what Michelle does, what Tim does, what Sarah does, like what all of these clients, everybody's got their own spice to how they create. And if your goal is like, I'm just going to buy Katharine's clothes, I'm going to get the same lipstick, I'm going to do my hair the same way, I'm going to wear the same earrings, I'm going to stand in the same position in the prep room, I'm going to get the same body dummy, I'm going to do, like, if I try to do that, one, I'm going to be so uncomfortable in the way that I create because it's not authentic to who I am.
Yeah.
And two, it's not going to work, period. I used to want to be Gary V. Like, the reason I started creating video content was Gary Vaynerchuk. I followed Gary Vaynerchuk when it was Wine Library TV, before he had an agency. Like, he was doing the things of, like, when I envisioned what I was going to do entrepreneurial wise in death care, it was like, man, that guy's got something with this Wine Library TV thing. And I started following him. But there became a point where it was like, I want to be the Gary V of death care. That was when the views on my videos completely dropped. We weren't signing clients as fast. I wasn't authentic to who I was. I was basing everything off of, oh, Gary said this. How can I flip this to resonate with death care? Doesn't work that way. Like, I have to be me. And you know what? There's somebody who's going to come beyond me and they're going to create content better than I create content. I'm not the best content creator. Like, I don't script things out. I yap a lot. Nothing's ever planned. I just turn a camera on when somebody's available and I start having a conversation. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but authentically that works for me. If I tried to script everything and use a teleprompter, it's going to feel really unnatural, and you're going to be able to tell that I'm not talking the way that I normally talk, and it's going to feel polished and unauthentic. And so, like, that copycat like mentality that exists of like, hey, I don't need anybody to help me with this. I'm just going to watch Katharine. I'm just going to watch Caitlin. I'm going to watch Dan the Funeral Man and do my own fashion show. I don't need anybody to help me with this. It's not going to work. You can go in short sprints and have a little bit of success, but you're not going to be able to sustain being somebody else.
Well, and it's usually the content that you don't plan for, just the random sporadic content. And let me tell you, and you know this, Chris, every moment and every day in funeral service, there is an opportunity for content. I can look back here and think of the 30 different videos that I can come up with, my lamp, where I got it, this urn table, whatever.
Yeah.
But Caitlin and I was visiting Caitlin in Pittsburgh at Coleman Taylor Funeral Home, and we had a funeral service that Friday morning, and she walked out to the hearse. And I was like, give me your camera. Give me your camera. We're going to do a video of you opening up the hearse and talking about how you rent your hearse for funeral services. And this is what I've been looking down at. I've been trying to find the video. She has 137,000 views. But this is the stuff that people want to learn about. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't planned. It was off the cuff. But people want to know. Did it bring some negative comments? Of course it did. But she knows how to handle it. That's right. And it not only boosts the content.
That's what I was going to say. That the haters just boost me into the algorithm. So keep hating. Yeah. People. If you're going to do this, if you're a funeral owner in this live, in this stream right now, and you're going to do this, we lost Ryan.
Oh,
he's like gone. He'll come back. Oh, there he is.
Oh, what happened?
You're back.
Hey,
I'll be upset you.
Let's go. Yeah, that's it. You guys.
Yeah. I was going to say, you have to innovate and not imitate.
Yeah.
That is what's going to be your success. And to sit there and just, I want to do this, I want to do that. And, it's not going to come off real. I had somebody the other day on I think it was either on my personal Facebook page or my TikTok, that I posted the video of that the mom sent me the pictures of the infant's cremated remains with all the material in it and stuff. And somebody came back and they're like, this isn't or even a real person. This person's AI. I'm like, nope, I'm real. I'm real. Hi. And my wife even commented, she's like, you don't understand. So if I do like recording here at home, it may take me like 15, 20 takes and, cutting here, picking up there, because I do want it to be perfect. You know what I mean? But at the same instance, that is me. That is Chris. If I'm going to do something for you and I'm going to put something out, I want it to be perfect. And you get that a lot now, but no,
Yep.
we're not AI. We don't sit there. We don't have a script that we're actually reading. A lot of the stuff we're just speaking from our heart.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a question
to
here
point,
for you, Ryan.
Chris, there's data that supports overproduced content on social media underperforms cell phone video because it feels like it potentially could be AI because it's so good and AI has gotten so good that the consumer doesn't know the difference. Where just holding up your cell phone, selfie style or on a tripod, and you're moving around, you're walking towards it, it's really hard for AI to mimic your perfect body movements. And again, that's the authenticity piece of it. But that raw, real video outperforms production quality video in a format like this where you're just creating and documenting short form content.
And see, again, there's, and that's why there is a science behind this. This isn't just Ryan's going to sign you up, take your money and say, hey, we're going to record your videos with you and just post them on the internet. There is a method to the madness. But Deborah,
so I figured out how to stream this to my Facebook, but my Facebook set up to automate that. Can you delete that comment with Uncommon Summit? That doesn't exist. Are you able to do that? It automatically throws up when I stream. I haven't taken it down.
No, because that's from your
okay.
Yeah. Now you can delete it from the thread.
My bad. You want me to talk about my off-white, huh?
The Miss Deborah here asked, hey, I love the off-white t-shirt. Can you elaborate on it?
Yeah. So I love fashion and I like street culture fashion and I like designer. So we'll go there. So Off-White is a designer brand. It was created by a man named Virgil Abloh. He was the creative director until he passed away a few years ago for Louis Vuitton. So when Louis Vuitton switched from having all just brown and tan, neutral colors, and they came out with their first line of bright colors, that was Virgil. But Virgil created a very exclusive high-end fashion brand called Off-White. It still exists. And his goal was to create a very expensive clothing brand that most people, which was his target audience, was more street culture, couldn't afford because he wanted to drive people to create their own. So very cool, super cool, thought processes around fashion. So Off-White is a brand that I really like. And so this is just an Off-White t-shirt.
Nice.
That's great.
Now the question is, what kind of shoes are you wearing tonight, Ryan?
Actually have Off-White shoes. Off-White brand. Off-White when you see it because all Off-White has tags on it. Whether they're leather, plastic, Off-White shoes come with these tags. A lot of times you can't take them off. This pair is a leather tag that you can take off, but that's how you know.
Now, were you rocking those during the unconference?
I had a Off-White pair that were Swarovski crystal. The entire shoe Swarovski crystal. So I love fashion. I have a shoe wall in my bedroom that holds about 200 sneakers.
You have a problem.
I do have a problem. I blame COVID. During lockdown or whatever, I started flipping sneakers. I have a very addictive personality. It's why I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't gamble. When I get into something, for me, it's a double-edged sword. It's why business has been good for me and entrepreneurship. It's why we're a niche of death care. When I get into something, I'm just going to go all the way into it. So when I got really into sneakers and fashion, I got into bots and so during COVID, I was buying and flipping sneakers and I had a whole brand and I was just kind of doing it in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep because have anxiety and worried about what's going to happen to the business, what's going to happen if everything's shut down forever. Like, all the things that everybody thought about as business owners, like how does this affect revenue? How do we evolve? How do we go from a in-house 31 person creative agency to everybody being remote, and what's that look like? So when I couldn't sleep, I started flipping sneakers. And so I have a ton of sneakers that now it's cool because for me, like my life mission, I have a number in my head. I'm not going to say it on live of what I would like to be able to give away in 1 year, money wise, anonymously, and nobody know it. Like Oprah level stuff where it's just like somebody gets a house because they need a house and they don't know where it came from. So for me now, the sneakers have become like, I find young adults, kids that love sneakers that are my size that can't go out and buy a $1,500 pair of shoes. So they get sneakers now when they're at our house. So it's really cool to be able to bless like youth group kids. And like we have a ministry we run out of our house on Monday nights called Room 38. My daughter leads, and it's about 80 people, mostly young adults, 20 to 35. And it's cool to be able to like, hey, you got any kids in your youth group that need sneakers? Great. Go pick out like 15 pair and just take them to youth group and give them away. And so like, that's kind of the sneaker game for me now. I don't sell sneakers anymore. It was a whole lot of work to make $25. Wasn't fun, but it was fun to collect. So
you're making me cry over here.
Love fashion. This won't make you cry. I love Louis Vuitton. So like, I got to make room for more Louis Vuitton sneakers and Off-White. So there, how about that?
That's awesome.
So what do you to go back to the profession here a little bit, what do you see? And Katharine, you've been doing this longer. Putting your face out there in social media. When I first started, literally it was just a text post and a picture of my coffee mug every single day, every single morning. That's how I started my, engagement on social media.
That was your thing that you found. It was like your thing that worked for you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with social media. You got to find your thing.
Yeah. Right. And then, talking more and, starting with you and Nate and down at Harkins, it's like, okay, now it's time to start, you really have to have thick skin. You have to have thick skin. You have to be able to understand that there's going to be criticism like you talked about, and, put yourself out there. You become vulnerable. And it's, we literally are opening up our lives, not just our business, but our lives, our family, to the public. And I don't think, I think people are, I don't know if that's where a lot of the mentality of funeral directors, and Ryan, you can chime in, to say that, that's not what we should be doing. Maybe it should just be, you need to pre-plan because it's going to do this and do that. It's not showing merchandise. It's not showing the Trocar. Like we got criticized. I got criticized the other day for the Trocar video on As the Hearse Turns, where the lady was a funeral director. And she's like, there are just things that are sacred and shouldn't be, there's too much sharing. You're doing a disservice.
I don't know, Katharine, I have a lot of thoughts on this, but
funeral. Well, I 100% disagree with that. Yeah, so 2 examples. I remember when it was over Thanksgiving week last year. We were in the hospital with my dad. Very scary. And we got a death call, and I answered the phone. And of course, we were given a heads up that this person was on hospice and was going to pass. And so when the call came through, the next of kin who I was talking to was very, they weren't emotional, but, just kind of talking through things and talking about when they were coming in for arrangements. And I said, do you have any idea of what you would like for your mom? And they said, well, we know how important that viewing is. We're going to do the viewing. And we know how important it is because we watch your videos. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like that makes it all worth it. Hearing feedback like that. Or a couple weeks ago, we had an individual in our care, and the daughter had called to give me a heads up that they were going to be using our funeral home. And she said, I was at your open house, and I believe they follow us on social media. And she said, Mom wants to use XYZ funeral home. We're not using that funeral home. We're using yours. And so when mom passed, Chad met with the family, and they were in the other arrangement room. I'm in the Dale room. They were in the David room. And so Chad was meeting with them, and he came back to the office area where all the staff offices are. And I had my scrubs on, and I peeked my head in. They were my funky drop dead thread scrubs. Yeah. And I peeked my head in the conference room. I said, "Hey, how are you?" And she looked at me and she said, "Did you embalm my mom this morning?" She felt comfortable enough to ask me that. And I said, "I spent some time with her, yeah." And I just like sat down and we were talking in the conference room. But these people feel comfortable with us because we're not a bunch of weirdos. We're not hiding back in the prep room, or hiding out in our vampire castle, whatever. We're out here engaging. We're showing that we are normal, everyday people with real life problems. We run a funeral home, but we're still normal people that like to go out to eat on a Friday night or go to the movies, or we have kids that don't listen.
Yeah.
So I disagree. We're not doing a disservice. Are there some people that maybe don't go about it in the most tactful and professional manner? Yeah. And people could say the same thing about some of the videos I've put out. And I know I've pushed the envelope. I've admitted to that. Ryan, you and I have had conversations before where I'm like, I need to take my foot off the gas pedal.
I agree with everything you said. Okay, let's just use data for perspective. When you're getting millions of views on videos and 90% of the comments from consumers are positive, then how could it possibly be bad for death care and you're showing too much? Like, the consumer wants it. And so, I just overshared about my fashion habits and how much money I spend on sneakers and designer clothes. But there are people watching this that all of a sudden feel a little bit more connected to me because they know a little bit more about me and they know a little bit more about my heart.
Yep.
Is that not the point? Like, we will buy and trust people that we know more about. And so, like, back to the original conversation around, does Facebook make sense for a funeral home? The whole reason Facebook exists was never to sell anything. It literally was so Zuckerberg could get girls. It was built to be a relationship platform. So when you use it in the naturalist form to build relationships by educating and connecting, you build trust, you build transparency, you build authenticity. That is what the consumer wants from a funeral director. Katharine, you just said we're not sitting in our vampire villa castle. That's because that's the perception that has been painted, because we've never done anything to show that we're not Dracula and preying on the deceased. Like, unless something changes, the narrative is always going to be the same. Right. And we see the direction of where the consumer goes when the narrative stays the same. It's why a direct disposal company can pop up. Like, I am a firm believer that a direct disposal company that comes into a market, opens up at $7.95, doesn't get more business because they're $7.95. They get more business because it's the only funeral home I know what it's going to cost and know what I'm going to get. So when you're transparent, when you guys are running lead campaigns, you're going, this is the price, this is what you're getting for this price. And then you can explain why the price is what the price is. That transparency, price becomes irrelevant in that conversation. Then the consumer has trust in it. They understand why that's $7.95 and why this is what it is. And there's value in that. And so, I love, Chris, your chats around with your coffee mug. And it's not like you're doing anything wild and crazy. You're showing a picture of the coffee mug that you're using, and it's not even a video. It's like
a picture,
a written out Facebook post, which has value because you're talking about real life things that every single person can relate to in some capacity. There's value in that, insane value in that. And the proof is in the examples that you have given, the examples that Katharine has given. I don't think that there's a funeral home on the planet. Like, I remember, Katharine, the first video you posted explaining what happens during an embalming, and you were just standing in the embalming room by the embalming table. So let's before everybody gets pissy, like, there wasn't a body there, you weren't showing anything. Like, it was completely dignified, and you explained the embalming process. And I specifically remember a lady commenting going, I'm so glad you explained this process. I've always said I wanted cremation simply because I was scared of embalming. The way you just explained it, I absolutely want burial. There isn't one, that lady's going to that's worth it in itself. That one lady that has a perception shift of I really want this, but my anxiety and the fear of the unknown isn't going to allow me to choose my final disposition as to what I want. And so your ability to be able to break down that process, completely shift her narrative. Plus, I don't think there's a funeral director on the planet that's not going to want a family to choose burial over cremation. So that's a win.
So I just totally lost my train of thought. Oh, one of the comments that I see over and over and over on our page is, thank you so much for explaining this. I was so fearful of what happened at a funeral home before I saw this video. We get that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, so just making people comfortable, putting people at ease, and again, it's knowing that they can trust us with their loved one, establishing that, and that's why you really have to think outside the box, because what we want to set ourselves apart from every other funeral home. And, that's one of the things that I remember, and I'm curious to see if Ryan remembers this. Hopefully, the company that did this doesn't copyright infringe or get ticked off on me.
You like this? Okay, so that guy, pause real quick. Eli, I got to shout out Eli. Eli worked for us. He started working for me when he was 17 years old. He is now a Christian recording artist in Nashville, still writes the Friday funeral fast wrap email that we send out every Friday through Connecting Directors. But he actually wrote this song, and he's a Nashville Christian recording artist now. So Eli Gable, go stream his music, go buy his music. Absolutely wonderful human being. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And Ryan, was this a client that you were doing this for? Okay.
Yes, this was a client.
Hearse down every road. I got calls galore. My hearse is always packed, my schedule's booked to match. You can check the obits, there's no death I didn't catch. Pre-needs on a lift, other homes are taking hits. Calling up Mercedes, say I need a brand new whip. Competition ain't got nothing, no, they ain't got nothing. Competition ain't got nothing, no, they ain't got nothing. My sales are a sensation, pre-need and cremation, using social media for public relation. My ads are driving leads, you wish you were me. I'm gaining all my market share from a Facebook feed. Competition ain't got.
So I just thought that would be cool to show, because again, that's really, what you guys push us to do is to think outside the box, to open ourselves up, and to become vulnerable to where people see the real us.
Yeah, that was fun. That needs to be redone because we could do a lot better job. That was probably, I don't know, maybe almost 9-10 years ago.
It's posted to Disrupt's YouTube channel 7 years ago.
7 years. Oh gosh.
Out of Columbus.
Yeah. American Coattails was a client of ours, and we were both at the Ohio Funeral Director Convention. So we pitched the idea to do a music video, and they are like, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Yeah. And I that's where I wonder.
Katharine, you're on mute.
Sorry. I had a blonde moment. How many people do we have on right now? I'm showing 79.
98 between all channels.
How many?
98 between YouTube and all of our Facebooks.
Okay. So I'd like to kind of gauge how many funeral professionals we have in right now. So if you're a funeral professional, whether you're a director, if you do transfers at a funeral home, if you work at a funeral home, you're an apprentice, maybe you're a student. If you're in funeral service.
And that was something I was going to ask, why people are trying to, either put it in the comments, and I'll turn the comments on so we can start seeing them here. Right. What if someone, their firm doesn't want to take the step. The firm doesn't want to sign up. Have you ever worked directly with just a funeral director to brand their self?
No, I mean, here's what we would do. And I get pre-need people. Like, this happens with pre-need salespeople all the time. They're like, hey, I want to build my personal brand as a pre-need salesperson. I work for these 5 funeral homes. They're not going to give me the money to do it. I mean, there's cost in editors and, all the things that we do, obviously. So most of the time for an individual funeral director, it's not feasible for them to work with us and us run Facebook ads for leads or anything like that. However, what I'll do is I'll spend an hour on the phone with you and like walk you through, like, how could you just start creating content? Like, what does that look like for you as the individual? I always ask first, like, hey, you need to make sure that your funeral home doesn't have a social media policy first before you do this. Most funeral homes don't. They're not savvy enough to have a policy. So it can be the wild, wild west. But also they need to understand that, like, their owner could get mad and whatnot. So, I mean, I'll give you the playbook is this. If you are a funeral director and you don't create content, you absolutely should create content. And the very first video you should record is just who you are, your funeral home, and why you got into death care. That should be very easy. And you start cutting your teeth on that. And then answering simple questions like, I mean, an easy one is 3 things that you need to answer when you come in for arrangements. The first question a funeral director is going to ask you when you come into the funeral home, or like, there's simple things like that. Like, those aren't going to get a lot of views, but they're going to get you comfortable just recording content. Or simply set a phone up and let it like time lapse you, or sit at your desk and film yourself doing something. So if you're just, a door holder and that's all that you're doing right now, and that's the only responsibility they'll give you, great. Set a phone up on a tripod and let it record you opening and closing the door for people. Like, that video in itself with a caption over top of it or a voiceover over it of like the pride you take in opening the door for somebody, the posture that somebody has when they're walking into the funeral home and how that plays into how you greet them, the psychology of how you open the door. I mean, you train your people on how to open the door so that it's inviting, so you're not standing in the way, so the door opens, so the old lady can get through with her wheelchair and her walker and she doesn't trip, and how to greet somebody. There's a psychology of just goes into opening the door for somebody coming in, because you don't know the state that they're in mentally. You don't know the day they just had and now they're coming into a funeral home. So like a voiceover for 45 seconds explaining that video would do very, very well. So there's very simple things that it doesn't have to be this overcomplicated, massive task right at the beginning. Now, does it get more complicated to record content? It does, because as you get more views, there's more pressure that comes along with it. There's an expectation. You feel like you owe it to somebody. There can be a lot of guilt that comes with creating content, meaning like you didn't do anything wrong, but it's almost like, gosh, people are depending on me to create content. That's a reality. I had to when I first started creating content, I was one of the very first people to ever create video content at scale in death care. And it almost became like, if I didn't get a post out today or I didn't get a video out today, it was like I had anxiety and I had pressure on myself, which is then affecting how I go home, because now I'm trying to find a pocket of time between 2 kids running around, dinner. Where am I going to create? And then I just got to the position of like, wait, pump the brakes. Like, I'm in the driver's seat here.
Yeah.
You know what? If you don't get a video today, your life isn't going to be any different than it was if that video goes out tomorrow or 2 days from. I don't think I've posted a death care related post on social media in probably 10 or 11 days. I've been traveling. I've been taking my daughter to college orientation, setting up a condo in Fort Worth. Like I've been in Ohio this week in strategy meetings with some local clients, and going to Dayton tomorrow for a hospice client. And like, I've been posting a lot of ministry content for my daughter and her book launch. Like, that's my life though. And there's some times where my life isn't death care. It's not disrupt media. And if I'm working, and I don't have time to turn on the camera. And I think that that's an important factor, is sometimes you just don't have time, and that's okay. But when you let time stand in the way and fill a gap because of insecurity, that's when you have a problem. Like, I could have set up a phone today and recorded the 3-4 Zoom calls for 4 hours that I was on and did a voiceover. But like, I mean, I don't know, like that could work, but there's so much going on. You said at the beginning of the live stream, Chris, that there's so much stuff that happens in a funeral home every day that adjusting the tissue box can absolutely be content. Because I mean, you both walk the halls in the room, your entire square inch of your funeral home prior to a family coming in for arrangements, prior to calling hours, prior to a funeral. You're making sure that every tissue is properly fluffed coming out of the box. Every flower and every arrangement is perfect. Every stand is perfect. The casket's centered. The chairs are perfectly aligned. Like, there is so much detail that the consumer doesn't understand and never sees, that you're doing repetitively, like clockwork. It's muscle memory, but you're doing it. Those are easy things to just turn a phone on and record and never say anything. Like, that's content. So my advice to any funeral director is like, okay, my boss is never going to pay for this, but I want to do something, is I just turn on a phone and I start answering questions. I look for one thing that happens every single day that I could talk about for 30 to 45 seconds, and I record that. And maybe you never post it, but you put it in your drafts and you save it, because you're just developing muscle memory of creating content and getting comfortable with the phone in front of your face. If you can get over the fear of the phone being in your face, nothing's off limits.
Yep.
Yeah, you do get over it with, repetition. It's like riding a bike. But one thing I will say is, if you're going to commit to this, you got to commit to it.
Yep.
You got to stick with it, because
Can't
your community loves it. They're going to love it, and they're going to want more of it.
Well,
like Ryan said, there is also that slippery slope with social media, and I got stuck in that. And I've called you before, very emotional. Like, I feel like I have to show up every single day, and I don't need to. If I go a day or two without posting, it's okay. But I also really have come to enjoy it. And I love the community that we have built on social media. But not only that, literally everyone who comes through our doors now and sits down in our arrangement room, this is not an exaggeration. We watch your content. We love your content. We love learning about your staff. How's Max? We had Max at an open house a couple weeks ago, and people walked in. They're like, "Hey, Max."
I can't even walk into John Deere. I was in John Deere, and I've never been into that John Deere. It was a John Deere over in Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
And I was getting a battery for the lawnmower, and I'm just paying, and the guy goes, "Hey, by the way, I really love your stuff." I'm like, "But what do you mean?" He's like, I watch you on Facebook." And, my wife was like the other day, she's like, "Man, you can't do anything stupid anymore. You can't lose your temper on somebody in public or anything like that. Everybody knows you."
That's right.
I'm like, you know what? That's not a bad thing. It's a blessing on both sides. I get to work on my comm, and, people are getting to know who Chris is.
Yes.
But so it looks like we've got about 95, 96 people jumping back and forth, and I want to say probably about 86% are funeral professionals.
Cool.
Based off of here in the
probably somebody in here then that's just thinking, "Oh, well, that's great, Chris. You're known at John Deere, but that doesn't mean you're going to get any business from the time you spend creating that content."
The guy said he had just gone to the open house at Redline, because I live closer to the Redline funeral home. I'm about a 40-minute commute down to Harkins. And he's like, me and my wife are going to set up a time to come in and meet with Katharine. And, it works. It benefits itself. You know, people love what we do. And there are, so where that store is located, there's another funeral home, maybe, what would you say, Katharine, mile and a half down the road?
Maybe.
In New Freedom.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
So, and we are farther away. So people are passing the competition to find us.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
the two ladies that came to our open house, Chris, were from down that way. I don't want to name the city, or the town, but they were from down that way. And the one had connected with us on social media, incredibly supportive of me, just the kindest, sweetest lady. And she came to the open house with her friend, and it was on a Tuesday, and they ended up leaving because she wasn't feeling well. And I guess she went home and said, if something ever happens to me, that's the funeral home I want to go to. She told her husband. And 2 weeks later, we were in here going over her funeral arrangements. I met with her husband.
I remember that.
Yeah, that gives me chills like that. Yeah. So social media, it works. We have proof that it works. So let's talk about pre-need a little bit, and I'll be open and transparent here. George has had a busy day. George Simmons, did you see that comment?
You got that right. Had a visitation with a memorial service, 3 death calls, answering the phones, getting a lady prepped and in the casket today with only me and an embalmer funeral director.
Yeah. So yeah, there's quite a few people here that are in funeral service, and
a lot of content in that day, George.
Yes, exactly. So when we bought our funeral home May 16th of 2023, that funeral home typically, for the time that I had been there, every year we were serving around 100 families a year. But back in the 90s, our funeral home was a place to go. We were serving upwards of 280 families a year, from what I was told. Now, of course, I was in elementary school at that time. But we bought the funeral home, and in 2023, deaths were down. Deaths are still down, according to CDC. What are we looking at? Everybody.
Like
everybody is saying the death rate is down.
Okay.
36%.
So many of the people, of course, that had died during COVID would be, passing now, or 2023 when we bought the funeral home. And so we're nearing the end of 23. And actually, when we bought the funeral home in May, the previous owner had only served like 23 families, which was really scary. And I said to Nathan, it was, I don't know, Ryan, in October or November, I said to Nate, I've been watching this guy on social media. His name's Ryan. He owns this marketing company. Let's just meet with him and see what his thoughts are and what he can do, because this is scary. We have loans. We have a business that we have to pay for. And like, basically, what the hell did we do? Why did we buy this funeral home? And so we met with Ryan. He gave us, pricing. He said, here's how this is going to work. This is what we're going to do. And here's what I need from you. And we did it, and did that through 24. So we served 81 families in 2023. In 2024, we served, it was 117 families. So we increased our call volume by 44% by doing content and getting out and doing all the stuff that some of these funeral directors hate to see on the internet, that doesn't work. And then towards the end of 24, Ryan, you were really on me about doing this lead campaign.
Yeah.
Like lead campaign, Schmeed campaign, whatever. And so I said, well, okay, tell me more about this lead campaign. What is it? And Ryan said, you do 2 videos. One video, maybe you talk about cremation. One video, you talk about traditional burial. And if you want, offer packages. And if you want to discount them and put it out there and see what happens. So just to put things into perspective, when we bought our funeral home, it came with 2.1 million in pre-need, which seems like a lot. So we ran this lead campaign for 3 months online. I had a direct cremation package that was slightly discounted, and I had a traditional burial package that was slightly discounted. It was extremely successful for 3 months. And we thought, well, let's run with some mailers for 3 months. So we did mailers for 3 months. And in 6 months, I don't know the exact number, but I know it was over 800,000 in pre-need is what we sold in pre-need. And we ended up doing a little over $1 million last year in pre-need.
Yeah. I mean, heck, even looking at Harkins, we did the pre-need Memorial Day thing. And I mean, we only did that over like 3 weeks.
It was successful though, and then you had people bugging you. Are you going to do it again?
And we just relaunched it again. I just sent everything to Jen and stuff like that, so we could start putting stuff together and getting some lead stuff put out. But I think it was like 120,000 in 4 weeks just in pre-need.
Yeah.
Can I throw some context on the backside of that from a social media, to I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to.
Yeah, you're good.
So finish your thought, but I want to throw some tactic on the back end of why you see success with that.
And I was really surprised because at first it was just like one of those things, I feel like if you explaining, the first year with just you, Nate, and Dakota, I feel like we're living deja vu through Harkins.
Yeah.
Really, it really does feel like that. But I think we're starting to gain traction. We're starting to gain leadway, and people are starting to welcome me and stuff like that. And that's going to take time. And we're just going to put the time in, and we're going to still be there for the community. But there is value, folks, in the pre-need aspect of social media marketing. If you do it the right way, it's not just you're going to put a graphic up and call it a day. It's having conversations about it. It's generating your own content and putting it out to the consumer. But yeah, so go ahead, Ryan. What's the science?
Well, I think that historically, let's just look at how pre-needs ran with a funeral home historically. Was pick a zip code, let's drop mail. We hope that mail hits the right person. We've partnered with different pre-need companies in the past, more so they want to try to figure out how we do it. But a mail drop would typically get back maybe 1% of what was sent out. And then from that 1%, you would typically set an appointment with half of that 1% and potentially close half of that 0.5%. So a pre-need lead, typically through a mail campaign, came out to be about $87. And what we found out from pre-need companies was if you can drive a lead for under $100, that's crazy. Our average lead through social media is under $20.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I was going to say. What was, you look at the cost. So Katharine, because you partnered with another pre-need company prior.
We were working with a pre-need company at the time that we dropped those mailers.
Right. So do you know what the cost was for the direct mail campaign?
I was given some numbers, but 10,000 maybe.
Right. So you spent $10,000 just to kind of, let's act like we're the Italian nonna, and let's just throw the spaghetti to the wall and see what the heck's, what sticks. So it's just like, what's that old meme when the dad has a daughter and it's just, throwing the money out the window?
Yeah.
That's all that is. You're spraying and praying. Where what I like about this is when we ran our campaign over Memorial Day with Jen, she's like, give me the zip codes that you want to target. So like this new campaign too that we just sent out, I gave her a list of the zip codes where I want to target. And I believe, Ryan, now correct me if I'm wrong, you guys can even target down to age demographics.
Yeah, that's okay. Here's the science of it. So it's historic. Let's just look. Most funeral homes that partner with a pre-need company are running some sort of paid campaign inside of Facebook, and it is, hey, we're going to give you social media content for free. It's going to be automated, generic, Monday Matters, Mindset Monday, bullcrap. Hey, here's a generic graphic of an old white hair couple in an arrangement room with a sad quote over top of it, and they think a Helen Keller quote, somebody's going to be like, man, that's a great Helen Keller quote. That's the funeral home I want my family to. It doesn't work like that.
I love when you say that.
they'll run paid campaigns that are for a green burial guide or a pre-need guide or, whatever, and call those leads. Now, maybe an email address to a call center and a phone number is a lead. I'm more interested in somebody going, okay, I already follow you. I've already gone to your website. I've engaged with content multiple times in the last 90 days. Now you're showing me a lead campaign that shows me the price, the package, what's included for that price. All I have to do is fill out the form, and I have all the information I need to already decide that this is something that I want to do because you've already educated me on the value of pre-need, like all of those things. So that's why the organic content is so valuable. So let's look at, Katharine, are you okay with me sharing what you spent total with Disrupt in 2025?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in our video package, you spent $24,740 on social media with Disrupt in 2025. You increase call volume at need by whatever, pre-need, 1,060,000 in pre-need, some odd. You said from that direct mail or from that social media campaign, we did 750,000 in pre-need from that campaign in that 3-month period.
Was it 750,000 in 3 months?
That's what you told me. It was actually a little less. We ran that campaign for 87 days. I think you had 130 contracts from that campaign.
It was 137 contracts. I know that.
So we spent on that campaign. We did put paid money behind that lead campaign because that's how you target it. $880 out, and that's included in the $24,740 that you spent in all of 2025. Right. So the upside of that one campaign for $880 is absolutely absurd, but it only works like that when you have you prime the pump. So Chris, with your campaign, we're going not only, this is the secret sauce. So everybody every pre-need company that's watching, or if you're working with a pre-need company, tell them to stop running the dumb download the guide. Those never close. They're just filling a call center. They're going to call those people, more so bug those people until they either die or say, never call me again. So if that's how you want your funeral home represented on a very, very cold, at best curious lead, great. What we would do is we would prime the pump with organic content, build an audience of consumer. In the back end of Facebook, we can go, okay, Facebook is looking at brand awareness. Brand awareness to Facebook is not how aware people are of the brand. It is, if something happens to that consumer and they need that service, how likely are they to use that funeral home based on how they buy products and engage with brands on Facebook already. So when I swipe a credit card and I buy this camera battery, Facebook knows that they showed me an ad for this Sony camera battery. Whether I clicked the ad and bought it or I went offline and I bought it somewhere else in a store, on another website from Sony Direct, Facebook buys credit card transactions in real time. They match them with your profile. So they know how you engage and buy from brands on Facebook. So they can say, based on buying patterns of this consumer, out of your audience of people engaging, here's a number that are most likely, if something happened, they're going to use your funeral home. So when we run a lead campaign, we're only targeting that number of people. So why is organic content so valuable? Because it builds that number. That consumers had to engage with your content more than 3 times in 90 days. Now, Facebook has awareness and they understand the science of the consumer. That's why when you get more than 10 seconds of a view on a video, Facebook will pump it in the algorithm. When you get 30 seconds, it goes a little bit further in the algorithm because trust is built in the first 10 seconds. So if someone's consistently watching 10 seconds or more of a video, now there's repetitiveness. There's a whole science of how just that number of brand awareness is built. Then we'll go, okay, Chris, now give us an email list, give us cell phone numbers, give us zip codes. And we go, okay, Facebook, these are the people that are already in the pipeline. They've already raised their hand. They've already subscribed to an email list with us. Like, they want our content. They have to be this age. They have to like things related to end of life planning, hospice care, senior we put them so close to end of life where like it makes so much sense for them to engage with you because they find value in what you do already.
Right.
And then now when we put that in front of them, we spend very little. Like we only spend $300 a month on a lead campaign. So with your 87-day campaign, Katharine, we spent $880 on that campaign to a very, very pinpoint specific consumer. Now we can expand that and we can go, okay, Facebook, there's that audience. Give me an identical audience of consumer that's never engaged with our funeral home. And let's put content in front of them that just gets them into the funnel. And then we retarget them with that campaign after 90 days.
And we're going to do that once I become licensed.
And there's such a
gotta get my wig.
high close rate. So, I mean, you think about the leads that you drove, like your close rate, our data says that when we drive a lead, there's a 40% close rate if you follow up within 24 hours of that lead coming through. And
it was, I mean, that was nuts. I remember the phones ringing. We're getting inquiries through email. You know, it was just go, 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 go. And then at the very end, when we did our calculations, we're like, what happened?
Yeah, it's great. It works, but it wouldn't have worked had you not you hadn't committed to the organic content. Like if a funeral home hires us and day one says, okay, let's run a lead campaign, we're going to get zero conversion because now you're like a direct mail campaign. You're just bugging them. There's no like hand raise. There's no already awareness. There's no priming of the pump. Like it is when you have the relationship, you have the trust and transparency. All you're doing now is getting them to the bottom of the funnel faster. The at-need side of death care isn't necessarily Facebook. And I get this question all the time of like, we want to grow at-need. Are we going to be able to do that through Facebook? You will grow at-need by just sheer brand awareness and like people knowing who you are. That will naturally happen, but that can happen through great pre-need marketing as well. So when you pre-need market through Facebook, you're still building brand awareness. So the value of that is tenfold. But the consumer is not coming to mom doesn't pass away. She's in the back room and I go to Facebook to try to find a funeral home. That's not the idea. If I don't have a relationship with a funeral home, I'm going to go to Google or I'm going to phone a friend, phone a pastor, get a recommendation. That's why it's so important for funeral homes to have partnerships and wine and dine pastors and senior care facility workers and hospice nurses and build those community relationships because they're referral partners. So if they don't have a relationship, they go to Google. Our goal is that we create the right content, that we build enough brand awareness with the consumer so that when they are in a pre-need scenario and ready to pre-plan or dumped into an at-need situation, they don't go to Google. They go, oh, who's the blonde-haired lady? Oh, Katharine, yes. That's my funeral director. Oh, Chris, man, he's so relevant with his Monday morning or morning coffee chats. Like, yeah, that's my guy. That's how we buy everything else. Yeah. Like it's not the buying patterns of the consumer do not change because it's death care. The only reason right now it looks different is because we haven't made it as seamless as every other brand on the planet has.
So do you see when we have those folks that are like, well, Ryan, you know, I appreciate what you're saying, but you know, man, I'm not putting my price out there.
It's crazy. We charge $21.95 a month for our video package. That includes $300 a month in Facebook ads. Our entry-level package, $1,695. If you have multiple rooftops and you want us to be your fractional CMO, it's $5,195 a month. We do a la carte for direct mail. It's $150 an hour to design direct mail campaign, $150 an hour to design billboard campaigns. We'll come in and do television production. Not going to do that for less than $10K. We'll spend 2 days. We'll script it out. It'll be $4K. The more you know about something, the more likely you are to buy it. Yep. If you cannot justify your price, you should stop charging people anything. And you should just shut down your business. And price in every consumer survey that's ever been done in death care, price is like 5 or 6 down on the list of why a family chooses a funeral home. I will pay more if I believe you and I trust you. Again, I believe the reason that a direct disposal company can open up and tomorrow start getting business is not because everybody wants a $7.95 pick mom up, drop her off 3 days later in a black container service. It's because I know exactly what I'm getting for $795.
Yep.
Period. So I think when I mean, I will put it in perspective of like this. We had a client that was in an area that they had 7 competitors. They were, out of those 7 competitors, 3 of them were direct disposal companies. Our client was about $2,500 more expensive on the low end than any of their competitors. When we ran a price lead campaign with price, package, everything, we targeted that campaign at all of the things I mentioned. But then we also said, okay, out of that audience, we only want to show this to people that like high-end wines, Cadillac, Mercedes, Bentley, BMW, Louis Vuitton, Gucci. And like we build an audience of inside of the people that already engage with them that have, they buy and like high-end designer brands already because they aren't price shoppers. They're quality shoppers. That's who you're going after. You're not at that point, you're not the funeral home for everybody. You have a very direct, specific clientele. So I think that it's crazy when a funeral home won't show price. And the most basic example is when you shop for a car.
Yep.
When do we ever call the dealership? Like okay, let's put it this way. Chris, you've got a Cadillac for $102,000. Katharine, you've got the same exact Cadillac with the same options, but it says call for price. What are you going to do? I am never calling you for price. I'll just go to the $100. I know what's going to happen if I call you for price. You probably don't have that actual car on your lot. It's probably in transit. You're probably going to try to sell me something else that's somewhat comparable, maybe a little bit more. Like those are all the things that happen. And then you're creating already in an industry profession where people have mistrust. So now you're being more secretive around what it's going to cost, which just creates more mistrust. And then you'll have some funeral homes that will go, and the reason that mistrust exists, and I called a client out on this the other day, it infuriated me. They'll probably cancel, and I'm 1,000% okay with that. I said, how can you last week charge $7,000 for a cremation and this week drop your price to $1,795? Oh, well, we decided that we're just going to advertise our non-declinables. By the time the family leaves, it'll be $7,000. I said, you're the freaking problem. You are the problem.
Absolutely.
You are the problem. But the funeral rule allows it. And I get that. That's fine. So I think that price is in the ecosystem, back to the pre-need conversation. If you ran that pre-need lead campaign, what we know is there will be 67% less leads that you get without price on the ad than if you put price on the ad. It doesn't matter what the price is, because now the family has everything that they need to go, I'm ready to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. I already trust you because I've been watching your content for months. I believe in what you're saying. I'm aware of who you are. You're authentic. I like you. I'm seeing your content. I'm clicking on your ad. I know what the price is. I know what I'm getting for that price. I'm smart enough as a consumer to know if I add or remove something from that package, the price will fluctuate up or down. I'm going to fill out the form. I'm ready to have that conversation. There's nothing left to guess. You have a far more ready to buy consumer and ready to plan, which makes your job easier. They're more comfortable. Everybody wins all the way around. So I think that not showing price is crazy. And most of the time when a funeral home doesn't want to show price, it's because they don't know how to justify what it is. And there's a scarcity mindset around like, well, they're cheaper and that's what the consumer wants. Again, the consumer, the top 2 reasons families choose a funeral home: number 1, relationship; number 2, proximity. It's been that way for 22 years since I've been in here.
Yeah.
Now, I sit there and so like after you called the other day before I left for vacation and just touch base, because I think the last time me and you had actually spoken in person was back, I think, Ryan, are you still doing like the life coaching thing?
Not as much anymore. I don't have the time. I still personally invest in life coaching, and I have a couple people that I coach. Yeah, but
yeah. But I remember reaching out when you were first starting out, and me and you had talked and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how things come full circle eventually. But one thing that stuck with me is when we redesigned this campaign for the one that's getting ready to launch, it literally bullet points out under the price everything that's included, and then on the other side, what's not included.
Yeah.
So at this point, if someone is calling me, 9 out of 10 times they don't have any questions because they know what they're getting for what they're paying. They're calling me to set up a time to want to come in. So it's saving the time of, if you're an owner here and you're watching, out of the 100 and some people that are here with us right now, if you're an owner and you want to, save your payroll for clients that are actually walking through the door that want to contract for your services, this is the way to do it. And, I probably never would have done that because the first one we ran, remember, Katharine, all I did was put the price and the savings. That's it. Yep. Nothing else. So this one gives a lot more information, and I think again it's gonna do phenomenal.
It will. Yeah. And think too, you're running a campaign in the middle of the summer, which is historically the absolute worst time of the year for pre-planning.
Everybody's gone,
and you're still getting leads. So there is a formula to when to run pre-need lead campaigns. If I'm a funeral home, I never not run a pre-need lead campaign. And Katharine, you and I have had this conversation too. I don't think you have to discount. There is value. Parting Stone. Hey, if you're not partnered with Parting Stone, shout out to Justin and his team. Been rocking with Parting Stone since inception of the idea. So great people.
So again, this is why social media is important. How many people on here knew that you could get your cremated remains turned into these awesome little stones here? And if you travel, say your loved one like to travel, you can take a stone with you to where you're traveling to. Maybe they like Florida. You leave it in the ocean in Florida. We have 3 families interested in these right now, and I just think they're so awesome. So again,
I'm still trying to get the team at Parting Stone to enter a rock skipping contest. I think it'd be brilliant content. Just throwing that out there again. Or you start your own campaign of will it skip, and you see if you can find something that will skip more than a Parting Stone, and you test different things in a beautiful pond.
So what we have to do is figure out what loved one we're going to skip. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Whatever. It's cool. It's fun. There's Parting Stone is so cool, and I think that's probably the thing I love most about death care is there's so much innovation in death care right now that's wild and crazy. And so back to your point, Chris, or what we were saying, I don't think you have to discount. That's not a requirement to run a lead campaign, but I would always run a lead campaign because you can always capture leads, and still running a lead campaign is brand awareness as well.
Yeah.
And there are historic times where it makes pre-needs more prevalent. Typically in the summer months, we'll run a soft campaign with clients, or clients are educating on the value of pre-need heavy through June, July, August. Towards the middle of September, we'll run a lead campaign and retarget everybody that's engaged with that pre-need education content, because September, October, first part of November, school's back in session, people aren't traveling. The death rate starts to increase a little bit towards the beginning of November. So now you're picking up pre-need, you're picking up conversations, you've been priming the pump. Turn those lead campaigns off mid-November through the end of the year, because every retailer on the planet is running a Facebook ad. So supply and demand, the what costs 3 cents, 30 cents for a click costs $5, $6, $7, $8 for a click. So you're paying a lot more for the same lead. When you could just be priming the pump and educating and organically get those leads. And then in January, ramp up a lead campaign again and run hard January, February, March, April into the first part of May. So there are certain times where pre-need campaigns will perform better, simply because people are experiencing more death. The death rate's up. They're in and out of a funeral home for calling hours. There's never a better time to offer pre-need to somebody than when they've just personally gone through a death of a friend or another loved one, where they're thinking about their own mortality and they're hearing horror stories of like people weren't prepared and then they're thinking about their own preparedness. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity there and value in it, but doing it strategically. I think we lost Katharine.
Yeah, she's coming back in now. She like froze and she's like, "You guys are glitching." I'm like, "Nope, we're good."
She said, "Ryan's way too talky. I gotta go. I got things to do tonight."
But I think that everybody's like, we've never done that. If people want to use us, they're just going to come to us. They're going to call us, and this is what they've always done. Well, the problem is for those folks that have that mentality of, this is what we've always done, is you have the folks that are not afraid to get out and make content and put it out, like Katharine, like myself, like the other clients with Disrupt, that are going to put you out of business.
Yep, 100%.
And it's making sure that, there is value to this, and it's not expensive. You're going to get out of Disrupt what you put in to Disrupt.
100%. If you don't see return on investment, it's not because social media failed you. I said this in a video a couple months ago. I'm like, so if we use social media doesn't work, or I tried it, it didn't work. Well, if we use that, in that terms, basketball failed me. I was going to be in the NBA. When I was a kid, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be in the NBA. But I didn't quite make it to the NBA. Does that mean basketball failed me? I don't know. I mean, for LeBron, basketball has generated billions of dollars. So for Katharine, social media has worked. For you, Chris, social media has worked. For hundreds of other funeral homes, social media has worked. For millions and millions and millions of businesses in the world, social media has worked. If it didn't work for your funeral home, social media didn't fail you. You probably just weren't good enough. You didn't run the play the way that it should be ran. And again, not everybody has the comfort level to create the content that a lot of other funeral homes will create. But if you never step up to the plate, you're absolutely going to miss. Doing something is better than doing nothing, unless you're just getting free generic content, because that it's the same as doing nothing. Yep. If you only posted one time a week as a funeral home, but it was an insanely organic, raw, real post, that would be better than posting generic content and a stream of obits every single day.
Yeah. And, Wing says, doing things the way they have always been leaves you stuck in the past with no forward motion or progress.
100%.
And for, again, it goes back to that old school mentality that, we've always done it this way, or, we don't need to put in more because we're doing just fine. People are happy with the status quo. And you know what? That's fine. If that's all you want to do, that this opportunity is not for you.
Right. Yep.
But if you want to level up, and instead of putting in 10, you're willing to put in 11 and put in more, and you see it and you can get whatever it is that you see that you put your mind to, then this is the opportunity for you to take your funeral home to the next level. But you're going to have to want to do it. You're going to have to get the buy-in of your team, especially if you're going to incorporate your team into the social media. People and families can see and they can smell a fake person from a mile away. And it's going to become very relevant very quick, because guess what? They will call you out in a heartbeat on social media.
Well, Ryan, when you and I initially met, one of the first questions you asked me was, who's your main competitor? Mm-hmm. And I guess, in funeral service, do we have competitors? I suppose. But I also think too, I don't like that word, because I feel like we all have something different to offer our families, like a different experience. I know for sure when a family walks through our doors, their experience is going to be drastically different than any other funeral home they have ever dealt with before. But I named the funeral home. And you said, well, what are they doing to bring in business? And I said, they don't need to do anything. They have families that just, use them over and over and over. They They have a good reputation. They don't need to do any sort of content. And your words to me were, if you don't start doing this, someone else will.
Yep.
And funeral service is small. And word on the street from some people that maybe work there, or that the owner sits and watches our content all day long. Apparently has some nicknames for me. I can't imagine they're the nicest nicknames, but is apparently very pissed off what we're doing, because we are getting attention now and we are taking families that used to go there. So if you're so against social media, just know that the funeral home down the street is going to get with the times. They're going to start connecting with your families.
That's right.
And they are going to start taking business from your funeral home.
There is no such thing as your families. And I think that that's been a term that's been, like, I've heard it since the day I got into funeral service is, well, yeah, we have our families and they have their families. And no, you have relationships. And when those relationships aren't fostered and they're not cared for, somebody else will step in and fill the gap and care for those families. And, you know, let's just go back really old school and just put social media in the most simplest, like, why does it make sense? When I first started calling on funeral homes 22 years ago, owners were in Kiwanis, Lions Club, VFW. I mean, you were in every service organization. You found the largest church in town. You were a member there. You went to Bible study here on Wednesday night. You went to Saturday Mass here. You went to Sunday service here. Like, you shook hands with as many people as you possibly could. That is not scalable anymore. This is the new handshake. Simple as that. This is how you reach thousands of people. And so when a funeral director asked me, like, what if I invest $26,000 a year with you and this doesn't work? I say, there is one way this doesn't work. The only way this doesn't work is you don't spend minimum 2 hours of time each month engaging with our team and doing the things that we ask you to do. If you don't engage with our team and you don't respond to email or the ideas that we throw out, at minimum, if you just do the bare minimum and spend 2 hours a month, accumulative over 30 days, like 8 minutes a day, engaging with our team, you will find success, because there is no possible way that you reach 0 people right now and then you start reaching tens of thousands of people in your community for 6 months and you don't see an increase in business or start experiencing relevancy when you go out into your community. It's impossible. That will happen if you spend 2 hours of time with our team a month. When it doesn't work is when a funeral home sets and forgets and they're like, well, just create. Why are you not creating? Well, I don't, if you're not doing anything in your community, and also maybe there's 2 ways it doesn't work. The second way would be great marketing will never fix bad business. So
yes,
if you're not good at what you do and you bait and switch people and you have a bad reputation, like, great marketing will be putting lipstick on a pig, and that lipstick wears off really, really fast. So maybe there's 2 ways it doesn't work. Outside of that, there will be a funeral home in every single market that owns the online attention with the consumer. And if you own online, you own the call volume. There are multiple funeral homes that we work with that have been with us for 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, who were number 3, number 4 in the market, that are number 1 in the market. And number 1 in the market called us first and said, we're number 1. We do 100 more calls than the next guy. We'll be fine. And I'm like, cool. Let me know when you're for sale, because it will happen. It absolutely will happen. There is no way you can build relationship, be transparent, be authentic, and lose business. Impossible.
And while the consumer is getting to know us on a personal level, we're getting to know them as well. And someone early on in the thread, in the comment thread, made a comment about negative comments. And they said, you'll have people come to your defense. And we do have people come to our defense in, certain videos when negative comments are left. But I also know too, there's one lady who actively engages with our content. I know where she works. She works at the dry cleaner that we use. There's so many people local that engage with our content, and I can say, hey, how's your daughter? How's your golden doodle? We have golden doodles. So I do genuinely care, and I love building relationships. I am a people person. But it's just, and it's not fake, it's genuine.
Yeah.
I truly love the connections that we have built. And it's just the icing on the cake is that it's helped our business.
Yeah, and it's great. You're doing it the right way, but you're doing it for the right reasons too. Like if a funeral home wants to do this because they're like, this is the magic bullet that saves my business, I'm going to go viral, I'm going to get interviewed by the newspaper because I went viral. If that's the main motivation is to go viral, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You may go viral, you may get some virability, but if your intentions are incorrect, you're not going to have sustainability where it's scalable and you actually grow your business. Yes, you can grow your business through some views, but not sustainable growth.
And that's one of the things, one of the biggest kickbacks and things that we hear, Katharine, all the time, is that the only reason we're doing this is because we make, I guess we're lucrative and rolling in the plethora of finances from the, couple dollars of monetization that is actually made from social media. But, it's, that's the only reason you guys are truly doing this. That's all you're doing this. If people knew what we need to do is I'm going to have to set up another camera and record a week of us actually recording content and paste that together to actually, do time lapse over a week to see how much time goes into this. And then how much time we take to, sit here and, engage back with our followers, whether it's on the funeral home page, our personal pages, as the hearse turns, and answer the comments. And, because there's when someone answers a comment, whether it's on Harkins, that's coming from me. If it's on Wagner-Elfner and Berg, that's coming from Katharine. And if it's from As the Hearse Turns, it's either Katharine or myself. There is no one else. It is direct access to us.
So, let's just discuss the elephant in the room. Am I monetizing on Facebook? Are you monetizing, Chris? Yes.
Yeah.
I am. Did I do this though to make... Right. Did I do this though to make money? No, I didn't even know that I could make money on Facebook until I got my first 1 million views on that one video. But is it nice to have? Absolutely, especially the weeks where I'm not taking pay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the monetization. If it was so great, would you put in 90 hours a week at the funeral home?
No.
I mean, come on. Like, yes, there's such a farce around content monetization that like one, the hoops that you have to jump through to just be eligible to get your content to be monetized is crazy. The requirements to keep that so that they'll monetize your content is crazy. The things you have to agree to is crazy. Like, it's not as easy as just like, oh, one day I woke up and I had a check for thousands of dollars from Facebook. It doesn't work like that. Most of the people that you read about that are making millions of dollars a year creating content are not making millions of dollars because of views. They're making millions of dollars because they have strategically placed product in video that somebody is paying for. They're influencers and it is fleeting. It's not a sustainable forever like it's a constant. The amount of creators that I've been in rooms with, in creator masterminds, in different like creator meetups, and YouTube holds an event every year where like we're meeting all these different creators. Like their life is, talk about pressure, talk about the pressure of feeling like you have to create. Their livelihood requires them to have a camera on 15 hours a day and hope that they get 9 minutes of brilliant out of it. Like it's a constant. So yeah, you're getting a few bucks from this, but in what other realm do people educate to the level that you're educating and not get paid for it?
Right.
You go and you get some of the education that is being discussed. It's stuff that's coming from mortuary school that we paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to obtain. We weren't given this information for free. And then the information that prior to, I don't know, I would say 2014 is really when, funerals, like what was it? Carrie started on YouTube, and you had Ryan and Brian with Undertaking the podcast to really start leading the way into social media. And, they weren't making a penny back then. Monetization wasn't a thing unless you had brand or sponsorships.
Yep.
And then, so D asked, I noticed it's mostly family-owned funeral homes are okay with social media versus corporate-ran funeral homes. It's very much frowned upon. Do you agree? Why and or why not? I know.
Yeah, we're in control. We're private.
Now, I will say this. Anything, and Katharine, what is the attorney bill monthly from, whether it be an email for us wanting clarification to be able to accurately answer a question, or even serve families to the best of our abilities to keep ourselves protected and the family protected? Because we don't put out anything unless it's vetted and it's honest and lawful. So it's definitely, I think the corporate side of things is more of just, it's corporate. They have their house councils that they just do not want liability. And here's the thing: for Wagner-Elfner and Berg, 99% of the time, the person putting out the content is Katharine. For Harkins, 100% of the time, it's Chris. So me and Katharine trusts me. Katharine trusts herself with her own business, and I've never put anything that would jeopardize her into there. When I first started posting social media content, and Katharine, you can validate and verify this for me, did I ever at any point put any information about the firm that I was working for?
Never.
It was general funeral or life motivation type material until I came on board here with Katharine and Nate. So I was very protective so that it couldn't come back, because again, now the firm was private. I held a C-level position with that firm, but we did not have a social media policy. And that's dangerous for the company, but it's also dangerous for me as an individual, because then they come back and say, well, we don't like this. We're going to separate ways with you. So I was very careful in what I posted, that I never associated myself or any of my views that it was coming from that company. And I think that's where a lot of the corporate stuff comes from, in all honesty.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we deal with corporates and independents, and corporates, obviously, like anytime somebody wants to write something negative about a funeral home, they're going to write about a corporate, because everything's disclosed and it's a lot easier to pick on a corporate. So there's a magnifying glass over top of anything that a corporate does. So there is that side of it. But also I think it's to the detriment of corporations, because I would love it if I was in a market with corporates. It would be shooting fish in a barrel. It'd be easy to go head to head. Now, from a money pocket, spend wise, never going to be able to outspend them, but you can outcreate them 1,000,000,000 to 1, because they're just the funeral director that's in charge, that would be creating the content. It's got no skin in the game. If that funeral home does 200 calls, great. If they do 300 calls, I don't care. Doesn't change my pay any. I'm on a salary. I'm just going to have to work more. So I understand it. However, TikTok, most of the largest content creators in death care on TikTok work for corporate funeral homes. You just don't know it. So it's not generating business for the firm. It's generating some business for them, or it allows them to have a side shoot where they're making some money as a creator or influencer to an extent. So, it's funny because we work with a lot of corporates in Canada, and they're American owned corporations that have locations in Canada, but we don't do anything with them in the United States because it's completely different. So it's interesting. And I think that there are some limitations, but man, it's more driven on sales too. So it's like, can we put money into social media where it's a longer runway to see the benefit? And there's a good chance that manager that we're branding is going to be leaving at some point because they change locations quite a bit. But also they're tried and true. They can dump money into direct mail. They know exactly what the numbers are going to be. They've got the exact number of salespeople in place, and they know, I mean, it's very predictable, and they manage a funeral home off of a spreadsheet. So it's a little bit different. If corporations embraced organic content, they'd crush, period. Like, they've got the money to do the best content creation. But it's just there. I see the roadblocks. I don't understand them. I've sat in those boardrooms. I fought tooth and nail of like why it makes sense. Just not to try to get business, but to like, hey, it'd be good for death care when you own 25% of the funeral homes in the United States to create content at scale where you have representation across all of America and can educate in almost every market. That would make a lot of sense. But
well, let's hope corporate doesn't take Ryan's advice.
You still win. You would still win. You would still win. But
and it's going to be interesting to see. I'm interested to see when Death Boom comes out, how that's going to be portrayed. Now they did interviews with you and stuff in Baltimore, didn't they, Ryan?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll make the cut, but yeah, I think I almost spent a little over an hour with them in our booth.
Yeah, because I remember they were filming heavy when they were here in Baltimore.
Yeah.
But some people have said that it's going to be, it was given more of a positive light to the profession than what people were originally thinking. So we'll have to see. But I think that's going to be something that if anybody's interested in starting to generate content, when this documentary comes out, that's going to be the platform for people to start, creating content for the rebuttal for some of that stuff or the agreement for those things. And again, like Katharine said, there's content all the time, whether it's, what was it today, Katharine, while you were making dinner, again, just bringing people into your house.
I was at home. I'm like, I'll just set my camera up and do a quick day in the life. I'm always thinking of content to come up with. And recently, people probably have noticed on our page, I've started recycling content and resharing content. There are some days I just don't feel like recording. If you allow yourself to go down that slippery slope, which I did, it can consume you. But I feel like I've found some healthy middle ground for sure.
And recycling content is actually great because think about some of that content, like the amount of people that saw it the first time, you're going to hit a completely different audience the second time around. It's interesting. Like, so we've tested taking the same piece of content in 1 week and posting it 4 different times. And the only thing we would change is the hook on the title card of the video. The context of the video would be the same. Sometimes the third and fourth time, the video performed better than it did the first and second time. And it's just, the algorithm's crazy, and it's a game that you never figure out. You figure out nuances and tactics around it and different things like that. But that's why the algorithm's so beautiful, is like in that day, it's going to get that piece of content in front of the right consumer organically if you're creating properly and you're answering the right questions. And so, I think it's insanely valuable when a funeral director does a day in the life video. I think it's really hard. It's not as easy as people think to record, and you're setting a camera up. Like, it gives me appreciation for Bear Grylls when I used to watch, his survival videos, and he'd have to like cross the chasm and put a camera down and crawl back and then crawl back again so the camera could see it. Like, that's what you're doing when you're creating the day in the life. Like, you're setting a camera up inside, going back outside, walking inside. Like, you're editing out so much crap. Like, there should be more of an appreciation for somebody that does a day in the life, because that 90 seconds was really about 6 hours worth of content. And so I think it's great because it gives an inside look. Like the more you know about somebody, the deeper the relationship goes and the more trust and transparency there are. And, you may be cooking something for dinner and somebody go, oh my gosh, that was my mom's favorite meal. Like, that's probably where we should go. And like, it can be something that like little, that simple, where there's a connection, and that's the funeral home I want my family to use. But it will never be a Helen Keller quote, I can promise you.
I'll always buy from the company where I've connected with someone and I feel like I know them on a personal level and have a relationship with them. And if it means spending a little bit more money, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
So we're 7 minutes after 9 here. So what do you, Ryan, like what is the best way? I put the company website down here for you. Do you want to put out like an email or anything if people wanted to reach out to you, or is the website the best way for folks to get things started?
Website's the best way. DM, social media. Any platform, Disrupt's there. I'm there. If you're in death care and you can't find us, then there's something wrong with you, not me. We're everywhere. So, and I appreciate it. Look, it is a joy for me to be partnered with funeral homes and funeral directors like the two of you. I've had the pleasure and the blessing in this profession to work with thousands of funeral homes over the last 15 years. And when I say, like, you guys have ran the play, you've ran the play. Every funeral home has the same opportunity to have the same success that you do. And there isn't anything magical about the two of you other than the fact that you've gotten comfortable. You've done it enough that you've got comfortable. You've let down guards. You've let down walls. Katharine, I remember the very first 5 videos we recorded. We recorded them multiple times before we put them out. Yeah. There was questions about belts. There was questions about lighting. It wasn't like you woke up one day, turned the phone on, and automatically were a superstar. Like, it doesn't work that way. Let's relate it just back to death care. The first body you embalmed probably wasn't your best embalming. And you probably were nervous and you were scared and you probably had somebody check it and you probably had somebody watching you do it and coach you through it. Like, that's exactly the way that we partner with a funeral home. You guys are at the point now where you don't record a lot of content with our team because you've gotten so comfortable just turning the camera on. But when you first started, every piece of content was recorded with our team, and it was casual conversation and it was Q&A and it was just very simple, very easy. But it started to build that repetitiveness. And like, I think that's the game. Like, there is a secret sauce once you get comfortable of how you can manipulate content to get more views, how you can move the consumer through a funnel. Yes, there's strategy and tactic around that. There's strategy on what to record, but there's no strategy on how to turn a camera on and get comfortable other than turning a camera on and doing it enough that you get comfortable doing it. Like, I didn't get comfortable recording video the day I was born and the day the cell phone came out. Like, the amount of content I go back and watch and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what in the world were you thinking? I had the benefit of nobody else was doing it, so there was zero expectations.
Right.
I will say that about your community. The community does not expect their local funeral home to create video content and answer questions. So there is not this magnifying glass or over top of your content where people are critiquing what's in the background and, oh my gosh, she's got a hair out of place, and man, his forehead's really shiny, he probably should change that lighting, or man, that guy's hat covers his eyes and I don't trust him. Because like, people just, there's not an expectation for a funeral home to create content. So when you do, you're completely already winning by just being transparent. People are less critical than what you think because you're talking about things they know nothing about, but they're uber curious. We have the single most curious consumer we have ever had. There are 21,000 pieces of content that a consumer digests on a daily basis every time they get online. They don't expect to digest content from a funeral home, but they would love to. And that's proven through the success that hundreds of funeral homes have had, creating content, answering questions, being relatable, being approachable, being transparent, and most of all, being authentic. And like that's the thing I can't stress enough. It would be impossible for me to put a suit on and be very monotone and create a piece of content. It wouldn't be authentic to who I am. It would also, on the flip side, be insanely unauthentic, and I wouldn't be able to get on and create a piece of content where I'm Gary V and I'm cussing and I'm dropping F-bombs and I'm doing all, like, it wouldn't be authentic to me. I wouldn't be able to do it. It would be so awkward. It would be like I've never recorded content before. The way I record content is authentic to me and how I feel comfortable. And every funeral home will have the same experience when they start creating content. So, you know, I applaud you guys because it is scary. It is scary. Like, people don't understand the thought process once you hit record. And if you've never experienced it, sit down with somebody, have them turn a camera on and ask you the most basic, simplest question and watch you fumble over the answer that you've answered in your sleep 1,000 times. There's something about a red light. There's something about knowing that it's documented where we freak out. So the fact that we would ever critique anybody that had the balls to create content and put it online, to me, is crazy, because it's not something that everybody can do. But you guys are doing it, and you're serving your community, but you're also serving death care. You are making death care better by what you do day in and day out. Not only the way you serve, but the way that you document how you serve, the way you pull back the curtain on how you serve. You know, I think that there's a lot of value in understanding that if you don't think that you are the best funeral home in your area, then you should probably sell your funeral home and go do something else. Like, if you're comfortable going, yeah, like, we're okay, then you probably need to get out of the space. So if you believe that you are the best funeral home in your area, then you also have to believe that if families choose your funeral home, they are getting better service than if they went to somebody else. And if you believe that, then you also have to believe that when they leave your funeral home, they have more mending on their heart and more healing than when they choose another funeral home. And if you believe that, then you have a responsibility to educate your community on what you do, and a responsibility to serve as many families as you possibly can, because you're helping your community heal better by them choosing your funeral home than somebody else's. So yeah, we don't have competitors, but if you're the best, then you need to serve more families.
Absolutely. And, you know, now, where are you going to be? Do you have any conferences coming up or anything? Or are you just hanging out until October?
I'm hanging out till October. I may end up at NFMDA, possibly. My daughter's going to college in August, so like I'm pretty much just family tap right now.
Okay.
And so I'm not speaking anywhere. Nothing really planned until October. I mean, I'll be online with content and things of that nature, but you know, I also think there's a lot of value in, like, Disrupt could go away tomorrow and my life is not going to change much. Like, as long as my wife and kids are cool, I'm cool. So
yep.
I know you guys feel the same. I mean, do I love what I do? 1,000%. Man, do I love our team? 100%. I do. I love what I do. If I was going to start another agency, would it be in death care? No, this is really, really hard. It's a fight every single day. But if it was easy, I probably wouldn't want to do it either. But I love death care. I can't imagine not doing this every single day. I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't. Like, we've worked with companies outside of death care, and it's it's not fun. There's not purpose and mission behind it. Like what funeral directors do every single day, I couldn't do. I've sat on your side of the table and made arrangements. I've sat on the family side of the table and made arrangements and made pre-arrangements. Frankly, I didn't really like either side of the table, and I couldn't do what you do day in and day out. I don't have the emotional empathy for it every single day. I really love people, but I think God created me specifically for what I'm doing now, because I get to have a hand in all of that. I get to have a hand in the way that you serve, because of the way you create content. You're going to serve more families, and families are going to be happier because they chose your funeral home by the content that you create. So, for me, that's enough. But man, I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have people that rock with us, like you guys do, and hundreds of other clients across the country. I'm blessed to have a team that buys in, that doesn't think, they probably think I'm crazy, but also are like up for the challenge. Like some of the goals that I have, and like the way that I want to change death care. Like, I hope that you have me back on as the Hearse turns, when I own a funeral home in the next couple of years, because I will own a funeral home, and it will be crazy. And I'll leave you with this. This is how I will spend my marketing budget when I get a funeral home. I don't want to run the funeral home. I don't want to be a funeral director. I just want to own it so I can do whatever the frick I want to do on the marketing side. 80% of my spend will be on social media, content creation. I'll have my first employee will be a content creator, and then we'll figure out the rest. Because we'll document the process of hiring the right funeral director and embalmer and all that stuff. And then, so that's 80%. I'll spend 10% on community engagement, just somebody that is shaking hands, kissing babies. They're with pastors, they're with hospice care. Like, that is a massively underserved relationship for most funeral homes, is partnering with hospice. Senior living facilities, like that person, that's all they do. They don't meet with families. They don't do anything else but just community build. And then the other 10% will be on just dumb, wild, and crazy marketing ideas. I will graffiti wrap a family car or a hearse or something. I will park the hearse in front of the mayor's house and take a picture of it and post it on social media, just so everybody thinks the mayor dies for attention. I'll probably make a lot of people mad, but that's okay. I'll park the hearse in the Walmart parking lot so thousands of people see it every day when it's not being used. And the first funeral I will do before I serve a single family, I will document a goldfish funeral, and it will be the biggest, craziest, like full page obit. Like, I will spare no expense on a goldfish funeral. Why? The amount of attention that you will get from that will generate 37 other calls over the course of it'll be probably the best marketing tactic ever. I will invite the community. So there's my open house to that funeral. I will, like, memorial DVD. We'll make up the grandest story about that stupid goldfish. Like, it'll be wild and crazy. Kids will be pallbearers. We'll have the fish pod casket that's biodegradable. Like, no stone left unturned for a goldfish funeral. There you go. There's my marketing strategy when I own a funeral home in the next couple of years. So if you're ready to sell a funeral home, I don't want to buy the number one funeral home in town. I want to buy the number 2, 3, 4, 5 funeral home in town, because then now there's only room to go up. Like, let's just go crazy.
Tell you, if I wake up in the morning and I see funeral home feeds that I follow on Facebook with obituaries for a goldfish, I'm done.
Dude, I'm going crazy with it. I'm telling you what, you're going to be like, I'll probably get that goldfish tattooed on my body somewhere. We'll document that. Like, it'll be freaking nuts. But why? Because attention. Like, at the end of the day, what does Disrupt do? We make funeral homes impossible to ignore. Period. Yeah. That's it. Like, we don't really do anything else. We make funeral homes impossible to ignore. Everything else is just tactical. And whoever gets the most attention wins. And if you don't believe me, we've elected presidents by the amount of attention that they've gotten. We haven't elected the best candidates every time. It's about attention. You get the most. Once you have the attention, then you got to do the right thing if you want to sustain. But whoever gets the most attention will win. It's the reason that I'll speak at a convention and a funeral home will go, hey, I don't understand. Like, I've been in the community for 70 years. I compete against this funeral home, but they still pre-need money and this happened and they've been all over the headlines, but they're still getting business. That's because nobody read the article. They really didn't even pay attention to the headline. They just remember the name that was in the headline. All attention is good attention if you spin it the right way. So whoever gets the most attention will win. You got to do the right thing once you get the attention to sustain. But if you get, so that's why I would do a goldfish funeral. You didn't ask me what I would do if I owned a funeral home, but that's what I would do. And then I would fix the arrangement process because I got some ideas there. But like, I don't know. So I'm just blessed to be able to do this. I'm blessed to have friends like you guys. I'll say friends because we are friends. Like, we probably talk more life than we talk business. I care about your families. I care about your kids. I love when you go to the beach and you show it. I love when you go to Universal and you show it. Like, I think that is important. I think that the way death care wins is humanization.
Yeah.
That's why content makes sense. You're not robots. You grieve, you cry. It's sad. Every day sucks because you have to bury somebody, you have to cremate somebody, somebody's experiencing something that's a loss. Like, part of your day is always going to suck, but there's value in the suck because it's like what you're doing is healing. Yeah. What you're doing has meaning. You're not clocking in and clocking out. Like, those families never leave you. I bet you both could rattle off the very first family that you ever served. Like, you could say a name and you're going to remember that funeral. You're going to remember the conversation you had in the arrangement. You're going to remember the removal. You're going to remember the tears. You're going to, like, it. For anyone to say that, like, death care is just, it's a job is so freaking whack. But at the end of the day, you still have to make money. You can't do what you do if you're not profitable. And so, why does a funeral home need to market? Chris, I think you did a brilliant job. I saw on one of your pre-need posts, someone's like, "Oh, well, funeral shouldn't cost this much. This is whatever." Like, I won't even say it was a defense of the price. It was just like, "Hey, that's great, cool. What part of this do you not want? Like, let's cut it out. Like, let's not do it. Like, tell me what you don't want." And I think that's like the amount of work and hours that go into a funeral is insane. Like, the little tiny details. I think it's like 217 questions that have to be answered just for a funeral to start. Like, that's wild. Like, that's decisions, that's people, that's time, anyways, we can go for 3 more hours, but you guys go to bed. I'm still on Arizona time, so it's only 6:30. So
Jesus. No, so thank you for everything you do for us and do for the profession. You've really trailblazed a different way and a different approach that for those of us that have truly embraced it, we would not be where we're at had it not been for you and your team.
Appreciate that. Absolutely. Thank you.
And, I'm excited to see where the relationship continues to go. And hopefully, some of the folks that hear or that follow us will reach out and at least have the conversation. I mean, you're not losing anything, folks, by reaching out and having a conversation. You can only gain some free imparted knowledge from, meeting with you.
Yeah.
And I'm also open to having conversations. In fact, that's how Tim and I connected, was through social media. He reached out to me and said, tell me about your story, your background. How did you get started with Disrupt? And now Tim's not only become a client of yours, Ryan, but he's also become a really dear friend of mine.
Yeah. Tim's amazing.
I'm happy.
That's what's great about death care. It's like, it is small and it is a family. And it's like, I love the fact that, like, Jen's on here still. Like, Jen's one of our account managers. She's a freaking rock star. And, like, she's like, my clients are my friends. Like, I go, Jen, why are you texting back at 11 o'clock at night? She's like, because they're my friends. And it's like, I love that. Like, I think that's like, I don't know if every other profession is like that with the relationships that they have, but it's like, it hurts when we have a client leave or it doesn't work out, or a funeral home changes ownership and we lose that client. Like that's painful. Like those are our friends. Like we genuinely care about the success of a business. Like I lay awake at night going like, how do we help our clients get more attention so they can serve more families without spending more money? Like that is literally the problem that we're trying to solve every single day. And man, social is the most cost-effective way at scale to build relationship with families. And yeah, I don't know. You guys have proven it. Like, I don't think that you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing. I think you're dominantly doing social and a few other things, and you're seeing success from it. So,
yeah.
Well,
we'll run another lead campaign once I get licensed.
Let's go. That's great. I'm proud of you for getting licensed. I think that it's awesome.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Keith, if you're watching, I did contact Exam FX today and we got it all squared away. So I will start studying here probably next week.
I love it.
You got this.
Kudos to you guys for trailblazing. I mean, it's 9:30 at night. This is still serving. You're serving the profession at this point. Not even as much your community right now. Like that's dedication. That's sacrificial. It's all the things, man. Like,
and cool. Chris and I are meeting at the gym tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning because I got this wild idea for a video.
See, content. Still get your workout in, but you still document.
Yep, we're gonna get it edited and posted at 9 p.m. on Monday nights because we've studied the numbers, we studied the dashboard and the analytics, and we have learned when a good time to post content is. And this is one of those videos that will perform well and show people that we're just a bunch of goofballs.
You know exactly how long that video needs to be. And you know exactly how many characters need to be in the text when you post it at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. And there's a science to that part of it. It's not just hope. Hope's a really bad strategy. So if your strategy is like, I hope that family calls us because they called us 15 years ago, that's a bad move.
Hope in one hand, do something in the other, and see which one fills up faster, folks.
You got that right.
So, again, if you want to find Ryan, I have put Disrupt's website. They're in the comments on our YouTube, on our Facebooks, here in the chat. I've also put in Disrupt's Facebook account. So if you are following us, I highly suggest that you go over and give Disrupt Media a follow as well, just to keep following along. Even if you're just a consumer, you will find Ryan's presentations, the clips from like conferences that they do. You will find those very rewarding. And all this is doing is also empowering you even more as a consumer, because we're pulling back the curtain. We're telling you what we do to be able to relate to you. So that's just another avenue for consumer awareness just by following their page and learning things as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And then we will be back again on Tuesday night. Tuesday night. I gotta look at my calendar. I think it's Tuesday.
I just show up when I'm needed.
I just sent you the email. I get the email from Katharine like a half hour before the show. Hey, send me the link for the show.
And Ryan, I'll see you in October. We will be at NFDA, which, I don't know if I should say this on here. So can we talk about church chairs?
Are they going to be there?
Nope.
Good.
Yay. Good. Shouldn't.
Good.
If you can't produce product for me, you have no business being at a show taking money from vendors and lying to them.
Amen. Let's go.
So, yeah, I was actually looking this morning, Katharine, depending on how busy things are in October, flying down Tuesday morning and flying back Tuesday night.
I was going to ask if you would come down with us.
I was thinking about just coming down for the day.
Well, and we'll talk about it then. We can get someone to cover.
Yeah. Come down. Come hang out. Be fun. It's more of a reunion than it is anything else for us. So love it.
But next we have Tuesday, we have a show at 7 p.m. And then the following Monday, which is the 28th, we have a jam-packed July here. we have, and Ryan, you know her, Georgianne.
Love Georgianne.
Georgianne is amazing. She is me and her, I met her in Baltimore when her and her partner were doing a presentation, fell in love with the presentation, took so much information, implemented, and we connected. And I'm in a universal group on Facebook, and all of a sudden I see a Georgianne Bender make a post on social media in this post. So I send her a DM. I'm like, are you Georgianne from the NFDA? And next thing you know, here we are 4.5 years later, still really good friends.
They're
So
great.
that's going to be a great, great show.
I've been friends with them since 2005, 6. They were at a Wilbert event when I was with Wilbert, and a wealth of wisdom and just good human being. Good. Her and Rich both are just great humans. They've prayed with my family through a lot of different things. Just good people.
Yeah, really good folks. So I am so excited. I think that is going to be a great show for not only the consumer, but again, another great show for funeral professionals.
Yeah.
But we thank everybody for joining. And Katharine, I think we are at 49,965 followers as of about 20 minutes ago.
You get your red leggings ready for tomorrow's video.
I was going to do red leggings and Nair for short shorts, some jean shorts. I was even going to bedazzle them for Ryan.
Let's go. Come on now. I got bedazzles on my shorts. I don't know if I can't get them up high enough to throw out a hip.
But we thank everybody for joining us. We thank you guys for following along, and we'll see you guys on the next live. And keep an eye out for Monday night. I don't think you're going to be disappointed.
Nope.
See ya.